It's like if Swiss and Parmesan had a baby. And that baby was delicious. Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to Pretty Good Cooking.
Pretty good.
Tonight in the show, we're gonna make 2 dishes to kind of make a nice, wholesome meal. If you hear the pitter patter of my dogs, they're really excited because Courtney's here.
Whoa.
The 2 dishes we're making tonight, we're gonna make an egg and spinach gratin, and then we're gonna make Leeks Vinaigrette. I think that'll go nicely together. We'll serve it with some bread and wine for a wholesome family meal. We will start by preparing the leeks and telling the dogs to shut up. You'll be quiet. All right, for our Leeks Vinaigrette, I wanted to show you how to prepare a leek. I actually just learned this recently. I don't really eat a lot of leeks, so it's new to me. Most of the leeks that we buy at the store are already trimmed, so you can see actually, like, you know, someone took this leek and went shink. But really what you want to devise or tell from the leek is what's fibrous, what's good to eat. And in our case, we'll probably pull off the first leaf. I think that's probably fine. And then we can go through, and I think they look nice. You can kind of trim them on a little bit of a slant like that. And you could leave that that long piece at the end on if you like. It's up to you. So you kind of have a nice diamond shape. And then from there, take a knife and a little bit above the white part, insert the knife and pull it this way. And then you can rotate it 90 degrees and do the same thing. And the reason we do this is that leeks are always dirty. They're really, really dirty, and it's really difficult to clean if you don't cut them open. This one's actually not too bad. There's some dirt. You can see that. So from there, you can just essentially unfold it, use running water to wash that up, and then you don't have a dirty leek. And the last thing that you need to do is trim the roots off. So I did some ahead of time because I didn't want to sit in front of the camera and clean 6 leeks. And also, I have some water boiling. Now, why did I use 6 leeks? That's how many fit in my pan. So our water is simmering, and you can do this a couple of different ways. It's really up to you. You can place them in however they fit best for you, but essentially what you want to do is fold them in. You can see here, I'm essentially using the tongs to get them fully submerged so that they will cook. We'll turn our heat back up, we'll get that back up to a boil, and we'll cook them for about 10 minutes. Pretty easy. Meanwhile, we can prepare the vinaigrette. So, these will be a mustardy type flavor. We'll start with 1/3 cup of olive oil.
Hey, shut up.
And to that, we will add around 2 tablespoons of mustard. Today I am using hot Dusseldorf mustard, which I'm sure will scandalize the Frenchmen because we're supposed to use hot French mustard. But I think hot German mustard is close enough for me and my family, so deal with it. And then I realized, too late, that I do not have red wine vinegar. I ran out.
No way.
Yeah, no, I checked everywhere. I ran out. So instead today we will be using citrus champagne vinegar. I think that'll taste quite nice. And we'll add about 2 tablespoons of that. And we will add to that some salt and some pepper. And we'll give that a whisk. You can like try to emulsify it if you like, but you don't gotta. You can even do one of these. Also, you should generally not whisk while holding things over the floor. Not a good move. And we will set that aside for now. Now that our leeks are boiling again, we'll set our timer. All right, so that's our leek dish is on the go. It's in the works. On the go. It's not on the go. We'll go ahead and get our oven heated up to 425. We may actually increase that, but since we're going to be cooking some stuff in the oven, we might as well get that oven going. Okay, so that's all we need for the leeks right now. So let's start working on our egg dish. I have a couple of things I prepped ahead of time. Essentially, I took out 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of butter. That will be for our sauce. I just wanted to have that ready to go. And we'll need to shred some cheese. Today we'll be using a Gruyere, which is a really delicious cheese. Kind of tastes like Swiss, but better.
Shut up!
These dogs are killing me. You could very easily use Swiss cheese instead, or really any cheese for that matter. But we're fancy, not just tonight, but all the time. So I'm gonna grate some of that Gruyere. You really don't need a ton, but I bought this for this purpose, so I'm just gonna probably grate most of it. And it's not a very hard cheese by any means, so grating it was very, very fast. But there is our Gruyere. It's like way more than we need. This cutting board is new.
Oh, yeah, you better shout that out.
Procured for me. by my Uncle Joe and Aunt Katie Ann. Thank you very much. I love this thing. This thing is really great. What happened to the old board? You'll find out. In addition, we need some Parmesan cheese. I like using the microplane, but I'm going to use the microplane for a different purpose today. So I'll just use this other side of the cheese grater since we have it out already. And of course, because we're fancy today, this is fancy. I will acknowledge it. I will acknowledge this is more fancy than normal. We are using, you know, the good Parmesan, the Pecorino Reggiano. Okay, we will be cooking today with 10 eggs, which we will be soft boiling.
That's a lot of eggs. Shut up, Vinny!
I don't know what to do about Vinny.
Vinny's happy.
Yeah, I solved 50% of the problem. Here's Iggy. Big chillin'. So I think we should just chill. Oh, I am drinking a beer. Here's the beer that I will finish now. Alright, so my leeks cooked faster than expected. Only took about 8 minutes. But what you can see when I grab a leek is that they are tender and I can easily pierce them with a knife. So those are good to go. And I will pull them out using the best of my abilities, which of course is not that great, into our gratin dish, which is just a fancy term for a casserole dish. Just kidding, that's just not correct information, but don't worry about it. I'm putting them in this thing, that's what I'm trying to say. And if you're an extreme economy person, you can save this leek water for soup, which is what Jacques Pepin tells you to do. What am I going to do with it? I think I'm going to boil eggs in it, actually. So I've got my eggs, and there's a chance that these will just freak out as soon as I put them in, but maybe not. But I figured I've got the hot water, so why not, right? Seems like they're fine, and that'll save us a little bit of time. Put that back up to a boil, and then once it is boiling, we'll cook them for about 6 minutes. These guys, the leeks, we'll just take them over here and let them chill out. If you would like, you can take a spoon as they're cooling and press some of the excess water out of them. Doesn't really matter to me, but I've also never made this, so don't take any advice from me. They smell nice, and we'll try to drain off some of that water. I'm also realizing, you see how much volume they reduce just from cooking? So what I'll probably end up doing is moving these into a smaller dish that'll look nicer when we go to eat it. I have just the dish in mind. This little guy, which I also got from my in-laws last Christmas, but I'm pretty sure that will fit into that. Right? Right, John? Do you mind photoshopping for the viewer? That? Into that. Okay. All right, so while our eggs are heating up, we need to cook some spinach for our egg and spinach gratin. In our pan, we'll get this heated up, and we're gonna brown some butter, maybe a tablespoon. We're gonna cook a whole pound of spinach. And I would like to complain now.
Oh.
I had to go to 3 grocery stores to find a place that had spinach in stock.
The horror.
That was a pain in the ass. It was. The eggs are making that sound. You can turn off the heat. I'm actually gonna do 5 minutes because I think that I didn't notice it in time. Triple washed. So it's good to go. Seems good. We'll get our butter, get a little spatula going. If you don't like the taste of brown butter, you don't have to brown the butter. It's also a little bit tricky sometimes to get the butter, browned but not burnt. So I kind of think in our case it doesn't really matter. So I might not brown it, but maybe I will. Nah. So because of the preposterous amount of volume for spinach, we'll have to add this a bit at a time. One way to avoid this process of like adding some spinach and letting it wilt and then adding more, you can blanch the whole thing. And actually, if you're doing both of these things at the same time, the leek water would be a great way to blanch. I forgot that was what I originally planned to do, but it's fine. We're basically just trying to wilt this spinach. We can do it a little bit at a time. I don't think it'll matter too terribly much. All right, so it's been roughly 6 minutes for our eggs. There they are. And we will transfer these to an ice bath in order to stop the cooking. Now you could do this ahead. If you're working through a stressful period in your life and you're like, how the hell am I gonna get these fancy eggs done on time? You could soft boil these ahead of time. So I'm gonna transfer them to this ice bath, which I prepared over here. And there they will chill, literally and figuratively, until we need them. Perfect. All right, so our spinach is coming along. I got the whole bag in there. That's what 1 pound of spinach looks like. Isn't that nice? Still has a little bit ways to go. So we can go ahead and season it with some salt and some pepper. And then to really elevate it to a bougie level, we're gonna grate some fresh nutmeg on this. So here's our whole nutmeg. No problem. And we'll just do a little bit, kind of like a once over. I think that will be plenty. Okay, so this looks perfect. And so for our dish, you can do one of two things. You can either dump the spinach completely into the pan and just spread it out, or if you'd like, you can push it to the walls of the container. And by the way, if there is excess liquid, you should probably push that out. I forgot to do that. But this is not that wet of spinach, so I'm not too worried about it. Isn't that crazy? Like, that was a pound of spinach and now it's nothing. And if you do it this way, you can also get some moisture out just with a paper towel. Okay, we actually got to a pause point, or a point where you could take a breath if you needed to. Or you might take a drink. My glass is empty. Okay, so we're gonna resume with our leeks, which you can see there's quite a fair amount of liquid in there. We'll try to push out some of it. The more liquid you push out, I think the more they can kind of absorb the sauce. Now for each leek, in order to make it easier to eat, we're gonna pull it out there, and then we're going to slice it into about 2-inch pieces, like so. And you can see even the stuff on the end, which typically would be more fibrous, it's quite soft. We're trying to dress them in the vinaigrette while they're still a little bit warm. You can see this one still has a little bit of steam coming off of it. Since it's still warm, it'll absorb some of the vinaigrette better. And you can see I'm basically just layering them in this dish in a way that I think looks halfway presentable. Okay, giving our dressing another whirl, because it's separated just a little bit, we're going to take this and spoon it over the leeks. And we'll start with the top dressing, kind of like so. And then we will see if we can't get some under the leaves. It might actually make sense now that I'm reflecting on it. So you kind of dress as you go. Since you have some overlap, I kind of think that there's, you know, sufficient dressing that you could just kind of blob it on there and spoon it around. So let's just do that. I think that looks quite nice. So, on that note, let's peel some eggs. Peeling eggs, you know, sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. If they get a little junky, it's no big deal, because we're gonna put a sauce on them, so no one will see it. No one will know if you do a bad job peeling your eggs. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel these eggs. I just wanted to show you guys I can do a good one. Here's a good one. See? Okay, got my eggs peeled, so it's time to make the sauce. So this is going to be a really basic roux into, I think it's a bechamel, but not really, because I think bechamel's milk. It doesn't really matter. It's a sauce. So we'll let that butter melt just a little bit. It shouldn't take long at all. We'll get our flour in. So again, this is 2 tablespoons of butter. We'll have 2 tablespoons of flour. So to this we'll be adding 1 cup of half and half, which is a mixture of milk and cream. You can also just use milk if you'd like, but I think just using heavy cream would make it way too thick. I don't know, never tried that. This pan is probably a little bit large to be doing what I'm doing, so we may end up with a few lumps, but that's okay. So we'll add in our flour. If you've got like a non-stick whisk, that's ideal for what we're doing. And you can toast this to your liking. You just want to basically cook out the flour taste. My rule of thumb for roux in general for this kind of thing is to do it by the smell. When I start to smell something that smells pretty toasty, then I'm usually pretty happy with it. So here, go ahead and do that. And we'll mix it together. Yeah, a little saucepan would have been, like a really small thing would have been the way to go. If you're a nutmeg nut, you could put a little nutmeg in here too. So it's pretty thick, it's a little lumpy, that's okay. Get this out of the pan, back into here. Carefully, carefully, carefully. I'll give it one more whisking, and I think that's good. So from here, I'm literally going to just take a little bit of this, like so, run it on the bottom, just so that my eggs have something to stick to, and make it a little easier to place them. Let's see if that works. It works. Fantastic. And you can arrange them to your liking. The 10 is a little bit of a weird number, I think, but that's okay. Okay, there's our 2 5 dice. Dice? 2 5 dice. Now, let's finish up this dish. Let's get that the cheese. So you take your cheese and sprinkle it kind of around the eggs, just the Gruyere, like so. Then take our sauce, and on each egg, place some of that sauce. But essentially what you're doing is adding this like a big creamy top, kind of like a vehicle to carry that cheese to the eggs, like so. And I'll say that maybe my sauce is a little thick. That's okay. I'm sure it'll be fine in the end when we just put cheese on it. So from here, a little bit more cheese, and then we add the Parmesan on top. Okay, looks good to me. We have plenty of cheese left. You know, if you really wanted to go ham, go buck wild, you could throw it all in there, but I'll probably just save it and use it for something else. All right, now I set the oven to 425 because I thought I would maybe need to reheat things, but I don't. So now I'm setting it to broil. So we're gonna finish this under the broiler. So while that's heating up, I'm gonna clean up a little bit and then it'll almost be time for dinner. Why are you laughing? Because I burped? Okay, time to broil. So I have the rack pretty close to the broiler. It's very, very close, but not so close as that will immediately burn. So that looks good to me. I also want to heat some bread here in the bottom. And while we're at it, why don't we heat up our leeks a little bit too? So we have a whole meal of hot food. It's supposed to take around 5 minutes. We'll set a timer just to see, like, is that true or not, but I'll be checking on it periodically. Almost done. Pretty exciting. All right, at 3.5 minutes in, I'm getting just a little bit of browning, and I want to flip it around just to make sure things get as even as possible. That was it. Almost done. Okay, let's pull it. Oh, baby. Look at that. And our leeks, which look a little soupy, and our bread. And there is our very simple dinner. Very simple. Our interesting dinner. We'll call it that. Looks great to me. So the one thing I noticed, again, I think my sauce was a little too thick. So you can see that it's kind of sits on top of the eggs more like a blob and less like a drape. It should be more of a draped kind of continuous sauce, but I still think it'll taste great. So let's plate it up. Egg and spinach. I would like.
Excuse me.
It's so rude. It's so rude. Iggy! He's just licking the floor. He's literally licking the floor. What a turd. Absolute turd. We'll whack your booty. We'll grab some leeks. Luscious leeks. And we will eat this with bread. Let's see if we have any runny yolk at all. I really don't know. Not that one. Not that one either. It is soft. And I still think it'll be delicious. We just cooked it a little bit too long. But that's fine. I guess I should probably try it, huh? So let's try this egg. It was really good. Like the creamy cheese sauce was wonderful. It tastes so good. It's kind of just like a familiar flavor combination, I guess, but it really works nicely with the eggs. I think this is really good. Maybe just don't boil them as long, like that. And let's try some leeks. Excellent. It's a very strong mustard flavor, and it's, you know, that hot mustard, so they're a little spicy, but the leeks are very tender. This is really yummy. Actually goes really nicely together. Oh, the spinach. The spinach is fine. Not especially exciting. The hint of nutmeg does help though. So yeah, that is egg and spinach gratin and leeks vinaigrette. Pretty tasty. So that's how you do it. Cook your eggs a little bit less than I did. Maybe don't use the leek water. That probably was where we went wrong. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this. I had fun cooking it, except for the parts where Iggy tried to sabotage me. He's still plotting. Look at the concentration. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.